Welcome back to the Better Late Than Never Club. I'm Bec.
And I'm Frost.
And tonight we are watching a historical epic, Gladiator.
Nice.
In preparation, partly, due to its sequel coming out 24 years later.
I always like when we can watch a film and then watch the sequel 20 years apart and also have not missed anything.
Right, exactly.
It happens rarely.
Also, we haven't really missed, if anything, we missed anything back in ancient Roman times, so we really missed it by a long shot.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the Roman Empire collapses. Don't know if that's the purview of this film. I can't remember. I have seen this. I know a few quotable quotes, but I can't remember anything other than, I think it's Russell Crowe. Is the main character, the titular gladiator, if you will. There ends the lists of things that I know about this film, except for, are you not entertained, Bec?
Is that this film?
Are you not entertained is from this
I
film?
always get confused between this and 300.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Because there's I Am Sparta and The Kick.
Yep.
And there's Are You Not Entertained? And I feel like they exist in the same place in my mind.
Very
even though
similar
they're two
energy.
different films.
I appreciate that because
I haven't seen either of them, so that doesn't help.
I really haven't seen 300.
Correct.
That's actually a great film for different reasons. It's exclusively for me a great action flick.
Right.
Because it's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. It's a wonderful film to watch.
Nothing wrong with a good action film.
Yeah. So, but that's not what we're watching. We're not watching 300. We're watching Gladiator.
We're watching Gladiator, which, as you rightly said, stars Russell Crowe and also Joaquin Phoenix.
Which, fun fact, I was talking with one of our patrons today about this, who was talking about Joaquin Phoenix's role in this and always, struggles to remember that person's name because it's not like it's a fairly uncommon name.
You'd think that will make it easier to remember, but anyway, go on.
But in the same, I didn't actually remember that Joaquin Phoenix was in this at all. And then we talked at length about some of the other roles Joaquin Phoenix has taken, and I just did not know the depth.
The depth of that man's filmography?
Yeah, crazy. So the one fun fact I know about Mr. Phoenix and his role in this film is that apparently, come filming, this is obviously one of his much earlier films, relatively in his career, he got cold feet and chickened out and got some flack from the director, and other actors and stuff had to go up to him and talk to him and tell him to come back to set and basically harden up and do it.
I didn't read that in the Wikipedia.
Yeah, just...
I either missed it or it's, not corroborated enough to make it to the Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's too someone
Salacious.
said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting. There are a few different kind of interesting points about the production and making and actors surrounding this movie. We'll start with the genre. Like I said at the beginning, it is classed as a historical epic. Which is,
that's like historical and epic.
It's a Braveheart, right?
Yeah, it's not action comedy. That's historical and epic are so...
Well, I think epic is kind of like, I feel like epic involves action and big scenes, like big group scenes, whether that's like the Braveheart where it's, the battlefield and all the guys on horses and whatever. Or in this case, I'm guessing a big arena with a lot of people, that kind of thing.
Well, I feel like epic also is part of spectacle as well. Like Jurassic Park. Sorry, everyone. Kiri wasn't invited to the podcast and she is mad about it.
Well, she's always invited. She just shows up late.
Yeah, she's never on time. She's always like, just start without me.
She's the Joaquin Phoenix of our set.
We had to really, really encourage her.
She's also mad because there's no blankets down here right now.
You all right, Kiri? You gonna stop yelling at me? All right. The answer is no. What were we saying before Kiri came in and interrupted? About epics. I feel like
spectacle.
Epic for me is spectacle, because there are some films that don't classify as epic from the spectacle stage. Like Jurassic Park is one of those films where it's like things happen at epic proportions, but not with a huge cast or a huge set or...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They involve things on a large scale. So whether that's the location, where the sets are often quite large, or just it's filmed on really huge landscape proportions. And again, then, like you said, with cast, so a lot of extras, a lot of big group shots and scenes, and just epicness,
In this thread, it's sort of
Make it bigger.
There are some films that I think should be classified as epic that aren't. Like Star Wars, for example, has a lot of epic energy. Like there are many, many people who play various roles in Star Wars. There are heaps of landscapes, heaps of extras, heaps of actors. It's really interesting that epic is a genre for this film, and it's, what do you say, historical epic.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's really hard for me to like really put my finger on exactly what that means for a film.
I mean, according to Google, it just means a large scale, sweeping scope and spectacle. So like we were saying, the 3 S's, I guess.
Yes.
It's a bit ambiguous, of course. And it sometimes means a film genre and other times just like a really big budget film as well.
So it's the millennial word epic, really.
Kind of. I mean, it also often focuses on a heroic character.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, I like that a lot because in like the Star Wars stories or in Jurassic Park, you're not actually focusing on a heroic character. But Braveheart is an example. Mm-hmm. And Lord of the Rings, you're focusing on the party.
Yeah, I think the difference between like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars as compared to Braveheart and Gladiator is that they're more group focused, whereas these have like a titular person.
I would put Lord of the Rings in the epic category.
I don't think
it classifies.
I mean, like I get what you're saying in terms of the 3 S's, but I feel like there's a certain vibe that is associated with epics, and that's why Gladiator and Braveheart fall into the same thing. I think historical helps because often it's sort of a dramatization of history, and history often feels epic.
Yeah.
Because we don't really talk about boring history. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It doesn't make for great film for some reason.
But maybe you're right. I think...
Oh, it's subjective, right? It's fairly subjective.
I mean, even Google says it's an ambiguous term. Wikipedia calls Lord of the Rings an epic fantasy adventure film trilogy.
There you go.
So,
I'm on board with that. Thanks, Wikipedia, for backing me up.
Yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. It definitely fits into the scope, sweeping shots and something, whatever the other... I've already forgotten what the 3rd S is. So all that to say, this is a historical epic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen it in so long. I remember enjoying it. It's one of our friends and patrons' favourite films.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
Did not know. It wasn't even a recommendation.
I'm surprised this hasn't been a recommendation, probably because everyone's assumed we've seen it.
Yeah, I just need everyone to know, never assume I've seen a film. That's your first mistake. And also, if you haven't given us a recommendation yet, what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, we do need more recommendations. This film came about because we have a little pool of recommendations. Some films are hard to source.
And also, we don't want to do too many of the same genre in a row, so
right.
we try and mix it up a little bit. So we've got a few coming up that are patron requests that I'm excited for.
Yeah, nice.
But if you are a patron that hasn't sent in a request, do so.
Get on it.
We've done one from at least each person that has requested it at least once. So... We're true to our word.
Going back to the pre-roll discussion we're meant to be having.
Yes.
I have told you everything I know about this film. I've seen it and I can't remember any of it because I watched it a very long time ago. Bro, I probably watched it when it came out. So
in 2000?
24 years ago, yeah.
Wow. At a wee 11-year-old Frost watching Gladiator?
Or I might have watched it not long after.
Sure.
I was definitely in school when I watched it. So who knows?
Well, I also didn't watch this film when it came out. Definitely not. And I don't really know anything about it other than its sort of historical, vague context of Roman Empire, Roman emperors.
You might even say
gladiators.
About gladiators, yeah.
That's pretty much it. Like, I don't know the actual plot. I assume there's going to be gladiator fighting because that's kind of what they did. I assume there'll be some kind of Colosseum. Is it the Colosseum where they fight?
Yeah, I think that's...
Is that the name of the big...
That's the
one? I don't know. But that kind of thing, that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah.
Maybe some lions and tigers and bears. I don't know. Something along those lines. That's basically... But I don't know what the kind of end goal is, like what the main struggle of the characters are. I don't know really what position Russell Crowe has, like what his character's place in the world is, or Joaquin Phoenix, really.
Yeah.
Although I do think I know that Joaquin Phoenix is a bad guy.
Yeah. My loose and definitely incorrect recollection of the plot is Russell Crowe's character is like normal ex-military, like he's retired military, and the Roman Empire has like obviously different factions and different parts, and he is an ex-Roman captain, now come farmer, and due to conflict or whatever, he gets enslaved and then traded back to Rome as a Colosseum fighter. But
interesting.
So now he's got military background training, but now he's in the Colosseum as a Colosseum pit fighter. And Joaquin Phoenix, I think...
Joaquin Phoenix,
I think plays someone like Pontius Pilate, like a bureaucrat. He might even play like the emperor himself or somebody like that who is a bloodthirsty, wants to watch the people fight.
Okay.
And keeps
I can see that for Phoenix.
Now, keep in mind that this is wrong, and I'm confident that I'm making this up as I go.
I'm actually not listening. No. Just to preserve my brain for the actual plot yet to come.
Yeah. Anyway, Russell Crowe does the fighting and, I don't know, gets free somehow or wins his freedom. I don't know, something like that. And everyone is happy ever after. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes.
You don't have to make like a full plot prediction just to really make yourself feel bad when it's so wrong. Let's talk about some more facts.
Yeah.
Rather than these crazy assertions from the other end of the couch over here.
Lay it on.
So let's start with the easy stuff. Our director, Ridley Scott.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Ridley Scott is one of those directors that I have enjoyed a little bit of his work. Not like his whole filmography. Not as much as Tim Burton. But he has some pretty good ones that sort of stand out. I mean, growing up, you didn't just say, have you seen Alien? You said, have you seen Ridley Scott's Alien?
Yeah.
That's how it's said. That's pretty crazy. Not many other films have, or many directors have that.
There's a handful and sometimes it feels forced.
Yeah, but that's like, it's Ridley Scott's Alien.
Yeah.
As if there's another Alien. Anyway, so obviously Alien. And then Blade Runner, which I also love, the OG Blade Runner. I did that in school and somehow it didn't get ruined for me. I still really like it with Harrison Ford. Then later down the line, we had Black Hawk Down, which I haven't seen, but is a
I did not know. I really remember enjoying that film. That's a good film.
And then in the last decade, he had The Martian.
Yep. That was a good film.
In 2015, I think it was. And then he's done more films. I just picked out a few that stuck out to me as big names or ones that I really liked.
Yeah. I watched a fairly recent film by Ridley Scott's Nepo Baby, either daughter or like relation daughter-in-law. It was like a fairly small budget. It was that film about like a cult in Germany. I think it was by like, I can't remember her name now, but it was somebody Scott. And I looked it up. It was Nepo Baby style. Very, very interesting.
Sometimes it's really frustrating to be on the other end of the couch when I've done like specific research and have my notes and I'm saying like facts and then you go, yeah, I think I saw someone, I don't know her name and I don't even know the name of the movie, but yeah, that's my contribution. It's actually a little nail biting. I need you to know. Feel free to do your own research any day now. Any day now.
Yeah, look, I feel like
that would really ruin the vibe.
It would ruin the dynamic. That's what I'm saying. I'm here to make you look good.
Wow. First of all. Other people involved in this film, the music is by Hans Zimmer.
Oh, damn.
So although there was a bit of controversy with this, he did get like sued and people claimed that he, essentially plagiarized or took too much inspiration from this other guy and it got settled out of court.
Wow.
So who knows? But, Hans Zimmer is pretty well accredited, shall we say, in the film score business. I
feel like there's a handful, like there's the John Williams, Hans Zimmer, they're like the two of the biggest names. There's probably not anyone else I would put up there.
Those are probably the most recognizable.
Yeah.
Although Danny Elfman is up there as well.
I'm not sure I'd put him in the same
He's a bit more niche, for sure. And very different. Like he has a lot more of that kind of goofy, gothic, alternative
Christmassy
vibe, yeah. But still, he definitely has a recognizable sound to his work. I think those three are the only three that I would say have like a recognizable sound.
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of funny that Danny Elfman's recognizable sound in the name Elf is very Christmassy. It's very, I don't want to say it's troubling. It's troubling because Hans Zimmer I also associate with the bwop sound, that big, which also Zimmer, phonetically kind of similar. And then John Williams, just those big like...
He just sounds like a really pleasant British guy.
Yeah, the fanfare, the strings, I don't know. It's all... I'm excited to re-enjoy this film.
I have more to say.
Under the guise of Hans Zimmer score, though.
Right, yeah, no, we really hone in on the score. Our whole review is just based on the score.
I mean, sometimes the score really makes a film.
It's true, that's true. It was a very successful film, second highest grossing of year 2000.
Wow,
so pretty
second
big.
to what?
It was a great question, I didn't look that up. It was beaten to the punch by, and this has got to hurt, a sequel.
Oh, no.
But I understand why Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just saying, it still hurts, I think, to get
Yeah.
done by a sequel.
The new Mission Impossible, I think the very last Mission Impossible is coming out soon. So that'll be interesting.
I mean, God, Tom Cruise has got to stop jumping out of planes at some point.
Yeah, I think he will. I think this is the name of it is something like Final Reckoning.
Yeah, Dead Reckoning, I think, maybe.
Dead Reckoning was the part one.
First part one.
And now it's Final Reckoning. It's like
that's kind of funny.
Mission Impossible, we're done. The last one, TM. Anyway, yeah.
It's kind of sad. I mean, it's so long running and so iconic.
Yeah.
You know, of a series.
I mean, we did it because it's better late than never. I think Mission Impossible 2 is one of those ones as well that's like the sequel actually was
pretty good.
I think a few podcasts ago I was talking about this. Like in the 90s to 2000s, some of the sequels
were better than the originals, yeah.
And not just better, they were like more loved. Because of, the characters found their feet.
Yeah, we were talking about this with
the horror films.
And also we were talking about it with Terminator.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I kind of want one of our next reviews soon to be a double movie. We do Terminator 1 and 2 because you haven't seen either, and I feel like we'd be doing Terminator a disservice reviewing just Terminator without doing Terminator 2.
So maybe like we do okay, now we're just like workshopping future episodes. I told you there was a lot to say for Gladiator.
Yeah.
So let me punch out some more quick facts.
Yep.
It won 5 Academy Awards.
Oh, wow.
It won Best Picture.
Yes.
Best Actor for Russell Crowe.
Fair enough.
Best Visual Effects.
Of course.
Best Sound, Hans Zimmer.
Thank you, Zimmer.
And Best Costume Design.
Yeah, I believe that.
Which is not uncommon, I think, for historical stuff because, like...
Yeah, you put a bit of effort in.
Historical needs a bit more effort than just, like, go down to Target and grab some clothes.
Like they did in Mission Impossible.
No, you don't have... I'm not saying for Mission Impossible. I'm just saying for, like, not historical films.
So we're expecting a good film. It was well rated, well received, well budgeted, made a bunch of money, won a ton of awards. What's not to like?
Well, there was sort of a couple of complications, shall we say. I don't know how complicated it really got, but one thing that did happen is one of the actors died during the course of the film, which did change that character's trajectory.
Huh. As in like they died because of the film?
No, not because of the film. It was kind of sad. His name's Oliver Reed. He doesn't play either of the main two, obviously, but he's still a fairly, from what I can gather, consequential character.
Yeah.
And he was sort of known for his heavy drinking lifestyle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he basically promised the director that he wouldn't drink during production, so he only drank on weekends to get as his way of compromising that.
Yikes.
And basically during a break from filming, there was like an Irish bar and this Navy ship was like ported nearby. And so a bunch of sailors were at the bar and they... Challenge, thank you.
Okay.
Couldn't think of the word challenge.
Bunch of sailors walk into a bar and challenge Oliver Reed to a drinking contest.
Correct. And basically he had a heart attack.
Far out. So he lost the challenge. It's not too soon. It was 24 years ago.
Still, it's sad. Well, because he was only 61. and like there was also another actor. This is all from the Wikipedia, so grain of salt. But another actor who basically had said like he was going to promise to keep him from drinking too much during like it was just all really sad.
Yeah, that's
and
pretty...
not, intentional. Like it wasn't like, oh, he died doing what he loved. Like it was definitely...
I mean, he died doing what he loved.
Yeah, but also like I think he wanted to probably finish the film.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the other complication was, and this is less of a complication and more of just like a funny historical film things, is that Ridley Scott wanted, to be as historically accurate as possible and whatever.
Fair enough.
So had a bunch of historical advisors on set and as part of the process.
Yeah, cool.
But of course, some things have to be changed and adapted and yada yada.
Yeah. You like there's doing things for historical accuracy, and then there's just making it work for set.
Right, and apparently at least one historical advisor quit after some changes were made that weren't historically accurate.
Well, yeah, I can respect that.
And at least one more was like, look, I'm not going to quit, but just don't put me in the credits. I don't want people to know that I'm associated with this film.
That's fair enough, right? Because if there is a historical inaccuracy...
Like a historian.
Yeah, and you're like a published historian, like an academic, like this is your career.
And your name gets put to it, yeah.
And it's like...
I get it.
Yeah.
And then there was another historian quoted on the Wikipedia being like, look, being more historically accurate wouldn't have made this film better.
Yeah.
It didn't need it. It's fine. You're making a movie. It has to be different for like not only story reasons but safety and practical reasons.
And also like sometimes it's just a more interesting story.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's basically it. I don't really know anything about the film's plot. I'm excited to watch this historical epic with 3 S's.
Well, it's 2.5 hours, so let's get started.
General Maximus, leading an army to another victory far from home in Germania. In the wake of his success, Emperor Marcus Aurelius reveals he is dying and wishes for Maximus to take the reins of control while Rome transitions to a republic. The emperor's son Commodus wishes to seize power, and after killing his father, calls for the death of both Maximus and his wife and child. Escaping his execution, Maximus is too late to save his family. In a state of grief, he is seized by slavers and taken abroad. Sold to a gladiator trainer, the general proves himself in local fights, befriending the other slave fighters due to his natural leadership. The group travels to Rome to perform the Colosseum, and Maximus continues to win hearts and minds with his prowess. His identity is revealed to Commodus, who is enraged that he is alive. Meanwhile, Commodus' sister Lucilla schemes for Senator Gracchus to bring her brother's tirade to an end, forming a plan to break Maximus out. But alas, Commodus discovers this treachery and arrests Gracchus and threatens Lucilla and her son, organizing a final duel between himself and Maximus. Despite underhanded tactics, Commodus is slain, and Maximus fulfills Marcus Aurelius' final wishes. Here's some deeper thoughts on the matter.
So I think we can all agree this is all Lucius's fault.
Really? I didn't get that. Explain this to me.
Well, he was the one that essentially unintentionally betrayed his mother.
I see. So in the scene where he's like, oh, it's Maximus the Savior.
Yeah. He's like, who said that? And then he's like, Mummy says it to me secretly, says how much she loves Maximus and that we're going to be a family and we're going to kill you, Uncle. No, I mean, obviously.
Oh, yeah, like.
But you know what I mean? Like, obviously there was other problems going on, like.
Yeah, the Emperor had too much control. Man, what a story. Like, I really enjoyed watching this the second time round. Like, contrast to Braveheart, which is one of the only other epics we've done, right? We did Braveheart in like
also
episode
historical,
6. So
it kind of helps, yeah.
Very, like, they have a lot of similar energies. With Braveheart, I didn't enjoy it, right, like, as much. Like, there were good parts to the bad parts. This was really good. We accidentally watched the extended edition.
Yes, that's 2 hours, 50 minutes, folks.
Yeah, just shy of 3 hours. And Braveheart, if you recall, was 3 hours.
Yes.
Boy, did Braveheart feel like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Now,
this still felt long.
Well, it felt long.
But I will say it definitely had less of the issue that Braveheart had, where there were so many parts of Braveheart. We'll stop shooting on Braveheart in a second. But there was a lot of Braveheart that we felt could have been cut and not have much of an impact. But this did feel like it really took advantage of all of it.
Yeah.
There was less like unnecessary slow-mo.
Yeah.
Unnecessary constant fighting.
I forgot about the slow-mo.
I mean, there's lots of fighting in this, but all of it sort of serves a good purpose. Like, there's very little that is just for the sake of fighting.
Yeah, and the fights that they do show, they wrap it up pretty quick. Like,
exactly, they don't really dwell on it too long, and there's a lot of moving parts, so it makes sense why it's long. There's a lot of like different storylines and different characters to explore and develop, so it makes sense why it's a bit longer.
Do a really good job, like so at the start in the pre-roll, Bec was talking about Oliver Reed. Mm-hmm. I think you mentioned this in the pre-roll, or you were telling me about it on the phone before we started recording. Either way.
No, it was in the pre-roll.
Okay, good.
He plays Proximo, and he is, as I said in the preamble, the guy that died in the filming. So they changed his character arc. His character was originally meant to survive. I don't know exactly what the story would have looked like if he just would have helped him get away and just survived, and that's kind of the only difference.
Yeah.
But they changed it so that he died, and they used body doubles and I think a little bit of CGI to achieve that goal, but it wasn't noticeable at all. Unless you knew that story, you wouldn't know that that was something they'd done.
Well, I mean, I didn't know that Proximo was Oliver Reed. Like, I didn't know who Oliver Reed
I didn't tell you because I didn't want to,
You didn't want to influence
give you
my watching.
Influence of like, well, that guy died halfway through filming.
I appreciate it. I thank you for not pointing that out. Because I was 50-50 on the fence about whether he gets out of there.
Right.
Until, like, it was a done thing. Until it was like, they're gonna arrest him in the one and final way that you arrest prisoners people when the Emperor is giving midnight commands.
Yeah.
The death that cut me deepest was Cicero, though.
Yeah, that's definitely that's that sad, forever loyal servant.
Yeah.
Has gone through hell to try and help his.
And his last act of defiance is to try and warn, at the cost of his own life, to try and warn the guy he's loyal to.
Yeah.
To try and warn Maximus.
Yeah, no, it's pretty upsetting, although he died pretty quickly, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Most people in this movie die pretty quickly. There's very few people that got the
2,000 hewn soldiers at the start who they don't really show, but, you know, he talks about.
Yeah.
2,000 of his men won't leave this area. You know, they didn't die quickly.
Not all of them, no. Yeah, and a lot of them were pretty badly wounded. I spend a lot of time when I'm watching a historical movie thinking, God, I'm glad I don't live back then. And not just for, like, the big reasons, like the way women are treated and general, you know, vibes, but also, you know, cleanliness, just hygiene, facilities.
The ability to stay inside away from the maggots. That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Oof.
But
there's a lot of similarities between the way Braveheart and Maximus both are just presented as these guys with ultimate riz.
Yeah, they are like, the charisma. Everyone wants to be them or be with them.
To follow them into battle, you know. I mean, Braveheart has a little bit more of it makes sense because they're like his countrymen.
Yeah.
There's sort of a kinship. Whereas Maximus, he's able to bring this group of like prisoners onto his side.
Yeah.
And obviously there is some reason behind that. He kind of bands them together and helps them survive and takes them from being like fighting in Algeria in the, you know, middle of nowhere to fighting in the Colosseum in Rome, which, you know, they had like a slightly better prisoner life, you could argue. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, like, they were all fighting for their freedom at the end of the day, right? That was the
right, exactly.
At least I feel, oh, man, it's just this movie gave me feelings. I really enjoyed it. I was tearing up at the moments where they wanted you to tear up.
You did. You were tearing. I didn't tear up just because I don't know. It didn't like it was emotional, but not to the point for me of tears. But you know. It got you.
I'm an old softie, what can I say, you know? Really enjoy it.
We have different triggers sometimes, like things that really get us, you know?
I think there was also an element of like, I've watched this film, so I'm nostalgic about like my memory of it. And for once, nostalgia wasn't like, oh, it was better when you watched it the first time, idiot. This was actually, I enjoyed it way more. The character, I kind of forget his name, Gattacus, the senator?
Senator Gracchus.
So Senator Gracchus. So the second time watching it, the dialogue from Senator Gracchus, which is not like they don't deliver his lines and then he looks directly at the camera and makes a face because it's such a zinger. He is just delivering like these cold zingers on people and they don't even know that they're being like burnt. And it's excellent dialogue. And I just missed that the first time around. But the second time around, he really gives the energy of the like senior office worker who's just done with everyone's shit, but you know, is talking politely and just dishing insults at them.
Yeah, he doesn't have that much screen time.
No.
Really, relatively, especially in an almost 3-hour movie, but he's a good character. I mean, the whole kind of it's not really a subplot, it's plot as well, but like the Senate versus the Emperor and like the wanting to make it a republic is a really interesting background story that makes it more global as opposed to just this is just Maximus fighting for his life, or for revenge.
Well, I mean that's the beauty of marrying up Maximus's desire for revenge and Maximus's honor to serve Marcus Aurelius's last wish.
Yeah,
and being able to just marry those up into a perfect Venn diagram with this. He's
like, there's just one thing we can do, guys.
There's only one answer here.
Yeah.
And it's a very satisfying story. I don't care how fictitious it is. It's a very satisfying story.
Yeah, no, it's well constructed for sure. And I feel like obviously there would be it's not like a fully one-to-one connection with an actual story from ancient Rome, but there's enough of the elements of life back then that it is believable enough to enjoy it for what it is, which is a good story, like you said.
It is a great story. And I thought all the actors did a really good job. Mm-hmm. And I can see why it won so many Academy Awards for best everything.
Yeah. I think it's almost unfortunate. I don't know if Joaquin Phoenix was nominated and didn't win. I'm not saying Russell Crowe didn't deserve a win. Like, he did also a really good job.
Yeah.
But I often think that playing a bad guy is much harder than playing a good guy.
Yeah.
I've always thought that because you have to come across as believably evil. You have to come across as pathetic and whatever your motivations are. They have to seem genuine. You have to, there's often a lot of depth to a really complicated evil character.
You have to play somebody who is believably evil, not just like a two-sided cartoon villain. And that's challenging, but you need to be sinister and scary.
But vulnerable at the same time, because often, and this is definitely the case with Commodus in this movie, is that his evilness comes from this like deep insecurity, that he wasn't loved by his father, that he didn't want him as a son.
He'll never be good enough.
He's never good. Yeah, all of these insecurities. And so there's this huge vulnerability that's obviously offset by his aggressive nature to,
his wanton bloodlust.
Yeah. So it was very impressive. I mean, I kind of expected that, honestly, from Joaquin Phoenix. Like, I've seen him in other movies and I know that he's really good. So
it was good to see him work, and it was easy to be like, this is a hard job, and I could see why if during filming he had to take a break and get called back in, because it would have been pretty intense, I think, to try and get into that headspace.
Yeah. I mean, he was only 25.
Yeah, I mean, he looked young.
Because he's 50 now, and this is 24 years ago, so 26, 25.
25, or a little bit younger, right? Because it takes a few years to film. So
yeah, they filmed about the year before. So yeah, like that's very young to be playing such an intense role.
Yeah.
But obviously he had to be that young kind of for the right year span, you know what I mean? Anyway. Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this. I thought that the sister, Lucilla, did a really good job.
Yep.
They had that really awful dynamic, and I say awful as in gross, but very well played. It was sort of like a one-sided Jaime and Cersei Lannister situation.
Just in case you hadn't picked up on that through the through lines of this film.
Yeah, well, in case someone hasn't seen it, he's obsessive with her, and wants her, and she's like,
and she's doing whatever she can to protect Lucius,
her son. Yeah, because he's the heir, I guess, because he's the only other male.
Yeah,
living in that bloodline right now.
And like when you've got a power-mad, bloodthirsty, wants to abolish the Senate and become the one true emperor for 1,000 years, when that person acknowledges their mortality, the first person they're going to lash out at is the inheritor of their throne.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to point something out. This is a bit of patting myself on the back. How at the beginning I said that the guy that played Marcus Aurelius reminded me of the first Dumbledore?
Is he?
He is.
Wow.
And he looks very, very different.
Huge, but he sounds the same.
That's why I said he's just got the same patter. Like he is that guy. Like,
Marcus, come close. Did you put your name in the goblet of fire?
But no, that's
no,
not him.
I
that's
know that's not him.
Anyway.
It's the only quote I could think of. Oh God, there's so much I liked about this film. I want to pick out a couple of things. Mm-hmm. I really liked the moment when Proximo reveals that he was a gladiator who was awarded his freedom, and his claim, his clout, if you will, is that the emperor, Marcus Aurelius, touched him on the shoulder and awarded him this sword. Right. I had the emperor's blessing, and he's saying this to what was effectively the emperor's son.
Yeah, and who the emperor wanted to be like the next guy in charge.
Well, not the next guy in charge, the guy to facilitate a peaceful...
transition of power, but still, it's like...
It's just that moment, I yelled at the TV.
Well, it's very funny because Proximo, it's a great moment of almost comical dialogue where Proximo's like, I didn't say I knew him. I said he touched me. Touched me on the shoulder. Come on.
Oh, God. Yeah, that bit is great.
Yeah. Something else I really like, and this happens to many characters throughout the movie, is they sort of have a coming to of morals. So, you've got Proximo, obviously, is the biggest example of,
money and greed.
But also, I mean, his beginnings is he kind of has this, he starts as a slave turned gladiator, turned freeman, turned slaver.
Yeah.
And then sort of, obviously, I don't say he's completely morally saved just because he let them out at the end. He was still a pretty horrible guy dealing in death, right? Literally.
Profiting off it.
Correct. He says it. At least he's honest, And then, of course, you've got the German, who I don't know if he has a name.
Other than the German. He probably has a name.
The big German guy.
Yeah.
Who starts as sort of the mean the mean girl of the slave group, and it sort of comes around and it has this sort of loyalty to Maximus.
Yeah.
And joins up with the rest of the slaves as, they unionize.
Unionize. Oh, the first union under Rome.
It was very good. I thought that the length of the movie made sense given how much I thought they gave a really good amount of time to each character to let them develop.
There was a complex plot and they managed to tell it without over-explaining it.
Yeah. Or without like skipping things or letting, doing leaps of... the only real leap is there's a little bit of a time leap where he gets taken as a slave and then is sort of traveling around in that kind of North Africa and getting trained / doing all these fights.
And the implication is that it takes weeks or months.
Yeah, months probably. Because he has to get better.
Well, one thing I was thinking about the time frame is that Commodus says that he wants to do the games in honor of his father's death, right? His father dies. What a shock to everybody. He then starts the games pretty soon after arriving back in Rome. And at some point during the games, when Maximus arrives, they say it's the 64th day of the games.
True. So it's been at least a couple of months.
It's been, minimum 64 days, more likely 120-ish. Because it would have taken him time to travel from where they were in Germania back to Rome and then organize it all.
Well, he goes from Germania to where he lives and then gets kidnapped to Algeria and then goes back to Rome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of travel.
Sorry, I was talking about Commodus. Because Commodus has to go from Germania to Rome because he's in Germania when he, kills his father.
Yeah.
Also,
Hug of death.
I know Germania might be an actual historically accurate name, but it sounds made up. It's like you're talking to your DM and your DM's like, you find yourselves in the country of Germany, Germania.
It was a real region name.
Yeah, it's just
I know what you mean.
It's has that made up energy. Yeah. I guess all names are made up. It's just kind of funny.
Yeah. Just especially made up.
There were a few moments in the film where you made some quips which were quite funny. There's a line that Maximus says when he's talking to the Emperor Marcus Aurelius about his home, and he says the soil is black like my wife's hair, and then less than 5 minutes later it cuts to a shot of his wife in his memory with
clearly brown hair. Like not even that dark of brown. Yeah, a middling brown.
With highlights. There's highlights in that hair.
Yeah. Is he colorblind? Real bad.
And in the courtyard there's a large poplar. There's not a poplar at the courtyard. There's poplars lining the road.
Speaking of that, something I didn't mention in the preamble, but something I also read in the Wikipedia is that Russell Crowe just described his house in Australia.
Oh, really?
As part of that. I don't know if that was they just wanted him to kind of run with whatever.
Yeah.
But apparently he just kind of went with
what he knew.
Yeah. To make it seem genuine, I guess. Which, do what works. He definitely, that's an acting trick, right? Go work from personal experience to really get that emotion. Because in that scene, he's meant to be really
vulnerable and opening up to the Emperor.
Right. So, poplar or no poplar? That is the question.
Well, now we know where he lives. Just look for the house with the poplar and the black soil as dark as his wife's hair. Easy.
I will say, as enjoyable as this film was, and it was a good watch, there was definitely an undertone of this is far too relevant still. Politically.
Yeah.
Obviously not in the same way, but it...
One man seizing power just hits a bit too close to home.
Yeah, and also just trying to wipe out the other competitors and get rid of it and, concentrate power.
It's just not a good, it's not a good vibe. It's not a good vibe.
Yeah.
We don't want those vibes. We want everyone's nice vibes. So I think we need an everyone's nice vibe film.
Yeah, for the next one, yeah. I think my favorite quote was from Gracchus when he is saying to the sister, we can't just kill him. We've got to wait until he's got more enemies than friends. And until then, we are docile, we are obedient, we are treacherous. I think that's my favorite line, just because it, are you not entertained is still pretty good.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I liked the sort of...
Gracchus's lines were all pretty good, and that was a well encompassed in 6 words. That's Gracchus. That's Gracchus.
We are docile, we are obedient, we are...
We are, okay. Look, I was like, where?
It's nine words.
Where? Yeah, we are. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Get it right.
Look,
Do my man Gracchus correctly.
words and numbers are my strong point. I think my Gracchus quote that I really liked was when he goes to the games, because obviously he's heard that there's this Maximus fellow who's causing a bit of a stir.
I know
he goes to the games, and the other politician, the other senator who is in the emperor's ear, and
he's corrupt as hell.
He's corrupt as all hell. He says, "Oh, Gracchus, you wouldn't see you doing the vulgar activities of the people." And I can't remember exactly how Gracchus phrases it.
I would never call myself a man of the people, but I am a man for the people.
And it's the emphasis on both. Because he would never call himself a man of the people, which is obviously what you do. You call yourself a man of the people. It's just, the whole thing.
It's perfect, yeah.
I don't know how that man didn't just drop dead.
Maximus is rolling in his grave because our favourite character was Gracchus.
I mean, Maximus didn't want to be there anyway. He wanted to be at home.
And it's true, he reinstated Gracchus at the end and then died promptly.
Yep. I do like it's a bit of a trope, right? Where like the hero is like holding on and staving off death, and Lucilla sort of acknowledges that she knows this whole time he wanted to go home, and he's like there barely conscious, giving orders like a general, but he's like passed out on the ground, and she says, "You can go." Like she's the first person of the royal family to actually dismiss him.
Yeah.
And say, "Get out of here."
Yeah, it's pretty touching because he is very loyal.
Yep.
Even though he didn't want it, he didn't want that post. He did want to do right by Marcus.
Good old Marcus the Tyrant.
Marcus Aurelius is such a good name.
Yeah. Look, Maximus has a good name. He's got like a really long name, like Maximus something is. It's not as good as Marcus Aurelius.
It's Maximus Decimus Meridius, which is still pretty good.
That's fine. That's not as memorable.
I think we can all agree that Commodus got the short end of the stick.
Commodus. I thought his name was, what did I say his name was at the start?
I thought it was Pontius Pilate.
Yeah, Pontius.
Which is like not, I think that's like a philosopher or something.
I think Pontius Pilate might be from like the Jesus stories.
Yeah, I don't know. You're getting several wires crossed.
Yeah, either way, Commodus, not a great name, not a great guy. No. Well acted villain.
Very well acted. And also, I did appreciate, from a filmmaking perspective, I think Commodus got the best, what's the word? When like the film gives a really beautiful visual story of his evil as it goes on. Like he's like into
madness.
Like the scene when he's like standing in that like shade and he's like super like in the dark. I don't know. The visuals on Commodus are really impressive.
Yeah.
And they really back up his character and his storyline.
He's got some fits as well.
He has some outfits. And what I really appreciated is that he spends most of the film in really dark colors.
Yep.
He was like black and gold a lot. And then he obviously decides to go into this big final battle that he thinks is going to be his crown and glory in this fully white armor set, which is sort of that really funny juxtaposition of like white is, innocence and light and yada yada.
Yep.
Whereas he's like this evil, person.
Yeah, tries to play it dirty. Still loses. He sleep deprives Maximus. He stabs him in the back or in the kidney or something.
Yeah.
With like a bloodletting blade, so that wound is not going to close up.
No.
And then still manages to lose.
Well, that's because he's mad, right? Like, as in he has no control for starters. Like, we know that he's probably an okay fighter because he's been training, Yeah,
that's something he's into. That's his passion.
He doesn't have any control. And his motivations aren't as, pure.
It's kind of interesting. You haven't seen 300.
I haven't.
But there's a scene from that, and it reminds me of that moment. Where in 300, the main Spartan, is talking to a bunch of, I think they're Roman soldiers, like conscripts essentially. And he's talking to them at camp or at barracks. He's like, "So what do you do?" One of them's like, "I'm a teacher." "What do you do?" "I'm a farmer," blah, blah. And then he points to some of his own men and he said, "What do you do?" And they say, "I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier." Because they're soldiers. That's their job.
Right.
Whereas these other guys, they're going to go back to doing what they do once they're done with war. So like he basically dismisses them and says, "You might be good fighters, but you're not soldiers. You're a farmer, you're a teacher." Mm-hmm. And it sort of makes me think of that in this thing. It's like, what are you? You're an emperor. Sure, you can swing a sword, but after you're done swinging a sword, you're going to be back to being an emperor.
Yeah. What's
Maximus? He's a soldier.
Yeah.
Which is like, he's not because he actually wants to go back to being a farmer, but...
Yeah, no, he definitely set himself up for failure with that one.
Oh, yeah.
I think another one of my favorite pieces or scenes was at the end with the fight when he loses his sword.
Yep.
And he says, "Quintus, your sword." And just before the fight, Maximus basically calls Quintus a coward.
Yeah.
A coward and a sheep. And Quintus is like, he really took that to heart.
Yeah. He's like, if the Emperor wins this fight, I will be executed for this.
Yeah. But also, I think he realized at that point that he wasn't going to win because he knows Maximus.
Yeah, he saw Maximus put dirt on his hands.
And now the Emperor doesn't have a sword.
Yeah.
Ooh. And like, not only does Quintus not give him his sword, he tells everyone else to put their swords away.
Put your swords away.
So that was pretty good. I like that. That was like another tide-turning moment.
There were a lot of really good moments. Like you said, a lot of redemption bits. That was Quintus's. You know, he stood by and let a lot happen because he was just following orders.
Right.
But that's his sort of first like pro-action. There were a lot of moments like that. It was satisfying to watch. The whole film was satisfying. Start to finish, I enjoyed it. I really did. And I think I'm ready to rate it.
Yeah, all right. Go ahead then.
I'm going to give it 8.7. Gracchus is the best senator out of 10. Stop trying at this point.
I have a pretty good one. I'm going to give it 8.5 dramatic face reveals out of 10.
That was a pretty dramatic face reveal.
Yeah, that was also another really good point.
That was a great moment. All right, well, this is a good film.
Yeah, no, I would recommend. I mean, look, I think we've shown that we like action.
Yeah.
For the most part. You know, occasionally, like with, you know, Predator or whatever, we maybe don't, you know, because we don't like repetitive action. The repetition in both Predator and Braveheart really dragged its score down.
I don't think it's the action we like. I think it is the compelling story and compelling characters in the setting of action.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
The action of the fighting in Predator and the action of the fighting in this and the action of the fighting in Braveheart, they're just action. But the compelling reasons of Predator, what compelling reasons?
Yeah.
The justifiably followable story of Braveheart, fair enough, but also it didn't need to be 3 hours because the story wasn't that complex. English, come take my land, I'm going to fight the English. That's the whole story. We're done.
Yeah.
Whereas this had like a complex political thread. We literally needed to say, we're obedient, we'll be treacherous. I'm already butchering Gracchus's quotes.
How dare you? In Gracchus's name.
In Gracchus's name we trust.
Well, thanks for listening. Let us know if there's any other epics you'd like us to listen to. Drop your thoughts on Gracchus down below. What's your favourite Gracchus quote?
Yep. If you have Gracchus t-shirts for sale, send me one, and I'll talk all about your Gracchus gift shop or whatever it is you've got. And if you don't have one, start one, or I will. You can catch us on Patreon, Instagram, Facebook. Send us comments, talk to us, let us know we're not alone out there in our love for Gracchus's quotes and dialogue. And till next time.
Till next time. This episode of the Better Late Than Never Club is brought to you by our patrons: Alex, Christopher, Lindy, Matthew, Nathan, and Rachel.
And also our members: Amos, Andrew, Raina, Salty Pond, and Simon.
Thank you for listening.